Good evening and welcome to the Daily Report on Thursday. My name is Victor Muyakane. Before we begin, here first are the highlights.
The government is set to carry out a nationwide inspection of development projects initiated by the president. The decision comes in response to multiple reports of abandoned projects and rampant corruption. Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei has passed away, days after being set on fire by an ex-boyfriend.
Nasikitika kuona ya kwamba sijaona kitu chochote yenye inatendeka kufikia kwa serikali.
Her family is now calling for justice. And drama unfolds in court after acting police IG Gilbert Masengeli fails to appear, as High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi condemns the disruption caused by activists who stormed the court, demanding Masengeli's arrest.
That and so much more we have in store for you this evening, alongside my sign language interpreter tonight, who is Rhoda Nyamai. By the way, it's her birthday. Why don't you wish her well? With that out of the way, shall we begin? Ladies and gentlemen, Ugandan long-distance athlete Rebecca Cheptegei passed on early today at Moi Referral Hospital in Eldoret. This is after days of fighting for her life. Cheptegei suffered 80% burns on Sunday when her former boyfriend doused her with petrol and set her on fire. He also sustained burns during the incident. Ruga Ival has the details.
What was expected to be another day of hope and strength for her to continue fighting for her life in the hospital turned into heartbreaking news. The message that greeted them was that the Ugandan athlete had bade the world farewell. According to Dr. Kimani Mbogo, Cheptegei had sustained burns covering 80% of her body, which resulted in the failure of some vital organs.
This morning at 5:30 a.m. It was multi-organ failure from the burns. She had severe burns of a significant portion of her body. So the severe burns led to multi-organ failure.
Cheptegei's father revealed that his daughter was doused in petrol and set on fire by her partner Dickness Ndiema in Ndebes, Trans Nzoia County on Sunday. The distraught parent now criticizing the government for failing to take swift legal action against Ndiema, despite Cheptegei having reported the incident to the police.
Nasikitika kuona ya kwamba sijaona kitu chochote yenye inatendeka kufikia kwa serikali. Nikiona ya kwamba yeye hapo hata saa hii akikuwa tayari anaweza toroka ama wafanye chochote wakimbie.
Sport Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has mourned the athlete and condemned gender-based violence, describing Rebecca as a brave young woman who had the potential to elevate the status of athletics in East Africa. The Kenya Women Parliamentarians Association KEWOPA has also strongly condemned this event, calling on the national government to focus on strategies to address violence against women.
I also would like to call upon the president. Women in this country are facing a lot of trouble. Being killed, being tortured, even on political arenas. Those who have not built a thick skin like me cannot face men outside there because they are intimidated, they are called names, and we need protection.
This incident adds to a growing list of elite female athlete murders linked to gender-based violence, such as Agnes Tirop, who was stabbed to death by her husband in the year 2021, and Damaris Mutua, who was strangled by her boyfriend in the year 2022. Athletes from E10 have also come forward to mourn Rebecca, condemning the ongoing violence against women athletes.
A few months ago, we were on the roads in January, working to end femicide here in Kenya because it's a menace, it's a pandemic.
Tirop Angels, we condemn this horrific act and call upon authorities to ensure justice is swiftly served.
Sisi wote wakimbiaji, wanaume kwa wanawake. Kwani wanaume ambao wanakimbia wameweka marekodi, wamekimbia time nzuri, mmevunja course record. Kuna mtu mwenye anaandikia bibi yake vitu.
Ruga Ibal, TV47.
May her soul rest in eternal peace, and we pray for peace and comfort for her family at this time. Now, as the probe into the death of Treasury worker Evans Chirchir continues, Treasury, through Principal Secretary Dr. Chris Kiptoo, has broken its silence over the claims that the death is connected to a 286 million tender deal, clarifying that Evans was not on official duty at the time of his death and that his death was in no way related to his professional duties. As Sheila Chelangat reports, so far, one person has been arrested over the incident.
At the Machakos funeral home, family and friends of deceased Treasury worker Evans Chirchir streamed in for the autopsy exercise. Chirchir, who worked at Treasury, had allegedly expressed fears for his life over a 286 million tender. And Treasury today has broken its silence over the matter. In a statement, Treasury PS Chris Kiptoo sought to clarify matters, stating that Evans was a procurement intern. According to the statement, Evans went missing on the night of Saturday, August 31st, after attending a private function. Treasury states that it received reports of his disappearance and later on death on Monday, 2nd of September. On whether Evans was on official duty, Treasury clarified, stating that at the time of the incident, he was not on official duty. The statement by Treasury adding that his passing on was in no way related to his professional duties. Further, Treasury says that Chirchir was not involved in any sensitive or decision-making capabilities within the department, and thus the incident was far away from his work responsibilities. Chirchir's lifeless body was found lying at the Machakos Level 5 morgue, with police reports indicating that he had been involved in a road accident along Mombasa Road at the Manzoni area. The autopsy report conducted today revealing that the cause of death was from injuries sustained to the head, back and broken limbs. The driver implicated in the accident has been arrested and is set to be arraigned in court for dangerous driving, causing death and failing to report an accident. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Now the news. Acting Inspector General of Police Gilbert Masingeli once again failed to appear in court to address the recent abduction of 3 men in Cheptegei. Justice Lawrence Mugambi had mandated that Mr. Masingeli attend court by 3 p.m. Thursday, warning that failure to comply will result in severe consequences. This as activists started protesting inside the courtroom after Masingeli snubbed the summons. Samira Mohammed with the details.
Earlier today, chaos erupted at the courtroom as activists and families of missing rallied, demanding the arrest of Acting Inspector General of Police Gilbert Masingeli, who for the 4th time failed to appear before the court as ordered on Tuesday by Justice Lawrence Mugambi.
This will not continue. I'm ready to die for the truth.
The High Court making a ruling ordering the Acting Inspector General of Police Gilbert Masingeli after he failed to appear in court to explain the disappearance of Bob Misheni, Jamil Longton and Aslam Longton. The 3 men were allegedly abducted on August 19th in Cheptegei.
The court noted that for almost 2 weeks, these persons who were allegedly abducted are nowhere to be seen. Their whereabouts are unknown.
High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi was forced to retreat to his chambers after activists started protesting in the courtroom, demanding the arrest of Masingeli over the case.
Don't come to arrest citizens here. The Inspector General is going to be arrested. Go and arrest the Inspector General.
On August 28th, Justice Lawrence Mugambi ordered the Inspector General of Police, the Attorney General, Directorate of Criminal Investigations and the National Intelligence Service to immediately reveal the whereabouts of the 3 to the Law Society of Kenya, which has filed the case.
Some 3 people disappear on the same day from the same area, and When I asked the Inspector General to come here, he is not available. What does that mean?
Masengeli had been directed to appear in court at 3 p.m. to shed light on the disappearance of the 3 youths, but he didn't. His legal team told the court that the acting Inspector General of Police is still in Mombasa for security operations and will proceed to Lamu thereafter.
He can appear before this court because he's away on official duties, my lord. He's aware of the court orders and is willing to obey the court orders and is seeking for the court's indulgence today.
This being the 4th time Masengeli has nabbed the court directions. The family of the missing kings are now asking the courts to offer a warrant of arrest to Masengeli.
Inspector General is down to be arrested. Go and arrest the Inspector General. Where are our brothers?
Samira Mohammed for TV47.
Now, police constables entering the National Police Service will see their salaries increase by 4,000 shillings, rising from 21,000 shillings 645 to 25,645 shillings. According to an update from the National Police Service on salary reviews for officers, additionally guided by the recommendations from the task force led by Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga, the Commission has adjusted the monthly salaries for long-serving constables. They will now earn between 50,000 shillings 145 and 69,000 shillings 640 for senior ranks, and the entry-level Senior Assistant Inspector General will now receive a monthly basic salary ranging from 200,899 shillings to 221,951 shillings, or rather 915 shillings, beg your pardon, reflecting an increase of 21,026 shillings. Long-serving Senior Assistant Inspector Generals will earn between 310,725 shillings and 409,365 shillings. The Commission has also announced the promotion of 1,957 officers, including 1,870 males and 87 females.
So this is the senior-most in the ranks that the Commission consider not state officers. Is the Senior Assistant Inspector General is just below the DIG. So you can see the junior-most what he has got and the senior-most what he has got. Na kwa hii kazi ya polisi tunasemaga mbuzi hula kulingana na urefu wa kamba yake. So kama wewe ni mdogo unakula style ya urefu ya kamba yako. Kama wewe ni mkubwa basi unapewa pia heshima yako. Na Inspector Generali juzi alituambia usimnyanyase mdogo, usimtatize mlie toshana na usimchimbe mkubwa wako. That is his philosophy and we continue to follow that. Allow me to tell you that only the maximum and the minimum, a Senior Inspector General, a Senior Assistant Inspector General earns a gross of 310,725 and to a maximum of 409,365. This again is within the range of serving along the notches.
A 14-day strike notice if their demands at the county level are not addressed. The unions claim that county governments have failed to honour the agreed-upon terms from the return-to-work formula. Key issues fueling the potential strike include a lack of medical coverage, delayed salaries and unremitted statutory deductions. Paul Kirobi has more details.
In less than 2 weeks, another strike is likely to take place across different hospitals, something that might affect a huge number of patients across at least 40 counties. At least 7 health workers' unions have already issued a strike notice, urging county governments to address their grievances and ensure that no further complaints arise from the healthcare sector. They now blame county governments for allegedly failing to honor the return-to-work formula, which they signed with the national government. The grievances raised by the healthcare workers include delayed payment payments of salaries, lack of medical coverage, and failure to remit statutory deductions. Reports indicate that in some counties, health workers have gone at least 3 months without receiving their salaries. Among the counties fingered are Machakos, Meru, West Pokot, Kakamega, Nairobi, Embu, Samburu, Kisumu, Taita Taveta, Bungoma, and Vihiga.
When the plight of the same people that are expected with the hospitals are ignored, on comprehensive medical cover, we demand that all the counties that do not have comprehensive medical cover to ensure that it is installed or procured within 14 days from today. On the counties that have not paid salaries for the months of June, the months of July, and the months of August, to do so in arrears within 14 days from today.
It has been revealed that health workers from at least 40 counties have been working without medical covers, something that puts them at risk.
Otherwise, today we are saying that all the health workers, that is the nurses, the doctors, the clinical officers, the lab technicians, the morticians, and everyone, and the public health officers will be out of work as they demand for the justice to be implemented, as they demand for these things to be implemented.
Meanwhile, counties like Meru and Taita Taveta are on strike up to now. On Monday, the Ministry of Health says it will work closely with the Council of Governors to avert any return to the streets by health workers. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, in other news, residents of Nyaseba area in Juja, Kiambu County held a demonstration on Thursday to protest against the recent killings caused by hyenas. The latest incident occurred on Wednesday evening when a 5-year-old child was killed by the animal. Our reporter Quinto Afula brings us the story.
In the Nyashiba area of Juja, Kiambu County, residents are seen carrying placards and branches as they march, raising their voices in protest, tired of hyena attacks.
Sisi ndio tulichagua hawa wakubwa wako huku. Kama walichaguliwa na fisi, sasa tunataka wakuje watuchukue juu sisi ni fisi zao.
Yesterday evening, approximately 20 minutes before 7 p.m. in this area, the deceased, a 5-year-old boy, was fatally attacked by a hyena while on the way to shop in the area.
Fisi imekuja kutoka juu, hatujui zimetoka wapi, na juu sasa tumekuliwa watoto wetu, wamama wetu wamekuliwa, sisi tunakaa tukiwa na shida, hata watoto wakienda shule tunakuwa na shida, mtu anafurahi akiona mtoto wake amerudi nyumbani.
Residents are now accusing Kenya wildlife officers of negligence, citing increase of these incidents. A month ago, a woman from the area was killed by a hyena, this being among other similar cases reported in the region. In response to escalating human-wildlife conflicts, the Kenya Wildlife Service, however, says it has ramped up its efforts to address the growing hyena threat following a recent incident in Juja. KWA says it launched Operation Ondoa Fisi 2 on August 8, 2024, aimed at mitigating hyena attacks in areas where wildlife frequently resides outside protected zones. Building on a similar initiative from November 2023, KWA says the operation has already resulted in successful tracking, capture, and relocation of 38 hyenas, while 12 quarries used by the animals as hideouts have been sealed. It also adds that a specialized team has been deployed to manage the situation, with the operation proceeding in 2 phases, which are direct hyena management and a community engagement program to educate residents on safety measures. KWS has also asked the residents to remain calm and maintain a number of measures such as avoiding walking at night and also tampering with hyena traps, at the same time promising to take responsibility for the animals and ensure the safety of the local community.
A number of hyenas have been pacified. What we have observed is there has been an outbreak of rabies in the Juja area, which has been affecting hyenas and domestic dogs.
Quinto Wafula, TV47.
We want to take a short break. When we come back, we will give you a few more stories. But after that, we will have a wonderful interview from the representative of a country that is known as the Land of Fire. All that and so much more after the break.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips. And the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked
Right, welcome back. If you're joining us right now, this is the Daily Report on Thursday with me, Victor Muyakane, and Rhoda Nyamai on Sign Language. Did I mention it's a birthday? Well, it is. Now, on his closing remarks at the Forum for China-Africa Cooperation, President William Ruto emphasized on the need to address the shortfalls of the global financial architecture. His sentiments indicative of shifting favors of the head of state on a lender. This as various African country leaders hinted at a shift of focus from the global north for funding and loans towards the east as they urged China to push for favorable terms that would enhance mutual benefit and the growth of the continent and the Asian superpower.
As various African leaders gathered for the second day of FOCAC, strategic ties were already being forged among visiting African heads, serving a majority from their loyalty to the global north.
Requiring China's close collaboration is to work with Africa on debt treatment generally, and in particular, reprofiling of debt to incorporate a longer grace period, and longer tenure for both existing and future financial facilities to provide fiscal space for uptake of urgent development financing in social, in matters infrastructure, and other sectors critical for stabilizing Africa's economies.
This as a majority endorsed mutually beneficial credit arrangements towards the continent, citing the ever-growing gap between first and third world countries, mostly pushed by a financing architecture skewed towards the lender's favor.
The continued investment in our physical infrastructure, including digital infrastructure, will significantly enhance Africa's connectivity, facilitating intra-Africa trade that currently is the lowest globally. And with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area being the relevant infrastructure for us to tap into, China's contribution in this space will go a long way in enhancing Africa's intra-trade.
We welcome the proposal by President Xi Jinping to elevate China's bilateral relations with African countries that are having diplomatic ties with China to the level of strategic relations.
President William Ruto advocated for immediate changes on the same, insisting the structure continues to exploit already poor states.
This relationship has transcended continent challenges and become a true testament to the power of mutual respect.
His statements indicative of the head of state's changing favor on lenders. This as China rallies up funds meant to bail out African countries, ranging in the billions of dollars, and various other goodies in the form of infrastructure projects. Hibak Said for TV47.
And tonight, a standoff looms between the county governments and the national government after governors rejected a proposal to slash the equitable share of the national revenue by 20 billion shillings. In a show of solidarity before the Senate's Budget and Finance Committee, the governors warned critical county services will grind to a halt if the amendments to the Division of Revenue Bill are passed, and they termed the move as unconstitutional. The Commission on Revenue Allocation, the CRA, has also opposed the reduction.
I would like you to be cognizant of realities.
In a show of solidarity before the Senate Budget and Finance Committee, close to 20 governors rejected a proposal by the National Treasury to reduce the equitable share of national revenues by 20 billion shillings, telling the Senate to reject the proposal. The Treasury proposal, contained in the Division of Revenue Act, which was approved by the National Assembly, if passed, will leave counties with 380 billion shillings from the current share of 400.1 billion shillings signed into law by President William Ruto in July. Money the county chiefs argue will cripple county operations.
As proposed, will completely paralyze the operations of counties and provision of critical services such as healthcare to Mwananchi. Today we just had a meeting on the implementation of UHC chair and the cost implication of that. We are required to cough out almost 40 billion, which is non-discretionary costs.
As county governments, we act for the people of Kenya, not for ourselves. And the way the trend that I'm seeing at the moment, we may need to ask ourselves whether we need to go back to the Kenyans who passed the constitution and allow the executive to annex the counties and we go home. Because we cannot keep on operating on a mode of begging what is rightfully ours.
This as the Commission on Revenue Allocation CRA defended the governors, terming the Treasury proposal as unjustified amid a push by the National Treasury to have the proposal sail through, citing shortfalls in revenue due to the withdrawal of the finance bill.
The projection is now standing at 2.6 billion. So despite the fact that the projected revenue has gone down, it is still higher by 379 billion compared to what was collected in the last financial year.
Section 203 of the Constitution guarantees counties not less than 15% of shareable revenue, with governors arguing that the reduction is unjustified and illegal and that they are shielded by law from budget cuts due to a drop in revenues.
The clause on division of revenue was almost like a standard clause, that if there's a shortfall of revenue at national level, that shortfall will be borne by the national government. Why? Because counties do not raise revenue. Revenue is raised by national government. The minute there's presidential assent on division of revenue, it is a contract. The minute there is that assent and the amount has been set at 400, you cannot go below by a shilling. In fact, the negative precedent that's been said is that this is the first and the second time that entire amount in the financial year 23-24 was not achieved, and counties did not get the last month's equitable share.
TV47.
Right, on to our last story of the evening. The government is set to conduct a nationwide review of development projects initiated by the president. The government spokesperson Isaac Mara made the announcement in response to reports that showed abandoned projects and widespread corruption. Mara says that officials from the office of the president will carry out detailed assessments across all regions to evaluate the status and progress of these projects.
Angazia hususan masuala ya vijana na ajira na wale ambao wanastaafu, na nafikiri hilo jambo liliweza kueleweka vizuri. Tumeangazia pia mambo ya vile tumepiga hatua katika nyanja za kilimo na kadhalika na ufugaji, na tutaendelea pia tukizungumzia masuala yale, kwa sababu mara nyingi watu wanasema kwamba serikali imefanya mambo mengi, lakini bado kunakuwa na utata ya uelewa. Na ofisi hii yangu ya msemaji mkuu wa serikali nikishirikiana na wenzangu Gabriel na Mwanaisha na wale ambao wanafanya kazi chini ya ofisi ya rais, tutakuwa tukienda hata kule mashinani ili kuweza kuangazia. Tumekwenda Nakuru, tumekwenda Lamu, tumekwenda Wajia, tumekwenda Konza, tumekwenda Homa Bay. Tutakuwa tukikwenda ili tunaangalia ni nini ambacho kweli, yani yale ambayo kwenye karatasi, yale ambayo tunazungumzia hapa Nairobi ni kweli yako kule kwenye ground, kwa sababu wakati mwingine watu wanasema kwa ground vitu ni different.
Right, we want to thank you for being with us for the last half hour as we took you around the country and informed you of all the latest. We want to shift gears now. We want to go over to the interview segment, Inside Tonight. And tonight we're talking about a country that is known as the Land of Fire. We'll tell you why. It is also the country that has the highest number of volcanoes, but volcanoes of a different kind, mud volcanoes. Would you imagine that? It is also a country that has quite a number of things in the UNESCO World Heritage Site, including the capital city of Baku, which has an old town, which is in the UNESCO World Heritage list and is surrounded by the most modern city you've ever seen. All that and so much more tonight with the ambassador of the Republic of Azerbaijan in Kenya. Karibu sana. We'll be right back.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, Grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter. Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join
All right, good evening. It's Insight Tonight, and tonight we want to get as much insight as we can possibly cram in the short time that we have into the nation of Azerbaijan and the relationship between that wonderful country and Kenya. You might be surprised to know that the people of Azerbaijan love tea just like we do. The only difference is that they don't sweeten their tea with sugar like we do. They do it with jam, and they make jam with virtually everything, including flowers, if I'm told.
True.
You know, that's Azerbaijan for you. They love food. There's a diversity of food over there. Their national dish, believe it or not, is the pancake. But not your regular flapjack pancake. It's a special kind of pancake stuffed with meats and all kinds of spices, and it's absolutely delectable. This country is also the country known to have the highest number of volcanoes, mud volcanoes, believe it or not. It's a landlocked country, ladies and gentlemen, yet it has about 700 kilometers kilometers of coastline of the biggest inland water body in the world, the Caspian Sea, in that section. All of that. Have you ever seen beaches like the ones we have in Mombasa with white sands, but this time with black sands? Have you ever imagined that? Can you imagine a country where you can take a bath with crude oil and it's supposed to have some benefits for you? This is a country whose capital city is a capital city of contrast. Baku has an old town that when you step in there immediately transforms you back into an age of amazing, amazing sights and wonders. And when you step out of it, there's 3 buildings circulating around the old town of Baku, and they're called the Towers of Fire. It's a land of fire. That's another name. Tonight we have the ambassador of this great country. We have Mr. Sultan Hajiev. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Nina furaha kuwa hapa.
Oh my goodness, I wish I understood how to speak your language. It would have been great.
You'll get there, I'm sure.
I will get there very soon. First of all, talk to me about this great country. Just before we began the interview, he was telling me that he's actually from the old town. Those of us who are watching us from Mombasa, the old town, can you imagine the old town of Baku? He's from there, and you still have some roots there.
Yeah, very true. My house is still there, but let me first say that after such an appetizing introduction, I really feel challenged. It's difficult for me to match the level of energy and passion that you have shown in introducing my country, for which I'm very, very grateful.
It's a wonderful
country. I appreciate this invitation, and I'm happy to be here. Yes, indeed. Azerbaijan is a country very far away, but there are certain commonalities between more or less all the countries in the world. You mentioned quite a number of landmarks. The old city, which used to be the cradle, the beginning of what is currently known as Baku,
yes,
is still one of the pearls, one of the kind of magnets that is attracting tourists from all over the world, and it's a very famous destination, which is also part of UNESCO's heritage location.
Right.
But Azerbaijan has so much more to offer than just the inner city itself, which is, as I said, is a touristic destination full of museums, restaurants, cafes, souvenir shops. But there is so much more. It's a very diverse country. You've mentioned beaches. There are even ski resorts, believe it or not. But comes the winter, you can go to the mountains, and we have some of the most advanced, very sophisticated ski resorts, also inviting a lot of visitors. My country, you mentioned history, saying the country's been around for quite a long time, which is true. Actually, my country was the very first democratic republic in that part of the world. In the Caucasus, was established in 1918. Unfortunately, it only existed for 2 years.
Right.
Because the Red Army invaded Azerbaijan, and we became part of the Soviet
Union. The USSR.
Exactly. We regained our independence in the early 90s. Unfortunately, first years of independence have been marred by conflict with neighboring Armenia because of the territorial claims.
Right.
It was the area known as Karabakh.
Yeah, Nagorno-Karabakh.
Yes, well, it's Karabakh, and for 28 years our lands were occupied, as confirmed by the UN Security Council resolutions. Despite our efforts to find a compromise, there was no solution found up until 2020, when the second war started. Azerbaijan has liberated its territories. We're now undertaking massive reconstruction rehabilitation program, which is also going in line with large-scale humanitarian demining. But we look into the future for peace and partnership. We do want to leave the difficult luggage of the past behind.
Absolutely.
Because there is so much to lose in conflict, and there is so much to gain in peace and cooperation. And I believe my country has made major progress in establishing such ties and partnerships all over the world. We are now focusing on Africa. Actually, that's the reason we have decided to further strengthen our excellent relations with Kenya. As they say, Nialanguni kukimarisha usiana kati ya nchi zetu. So najaribu. Najaribu Swahili pole pole.
Unajaribu na unafanya vizuri.
It's not as rahisi as I wish it was.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because well, time wakati is an issue. Shughuli mingi.
Shughuli nyingi kweli.
Going back to the main issue.
But you're doing well. I must congratulate you for that.
I'm trying.
You're trying.
I should do so much better.
Unafanya vizuri kweli.
Asante sana. But going back to the issue discussed, we are looking forward for partnerships, because we believe there are a lot of fursas, there are a lot of opportunities, and I believe we can harness those opportunities in the best interest of the people of Kenya and Azerbaijan. And the opportunities are really, some of them are like writings on the wall. You mentioned tea, very true. My country and my people are very tea-loving people, and I can tell you that whenever I travel back to Azerbaijan, one request that I'm always hearing from friends and family, they're like, can you please bring some tea and coffee?
Yes, indeed.
But I feel it's unfair that it's accessible only for the selected few. I believe more people should be having this access. And other features that I do see as a major promising avenue of partnership and cooperation is tourism. I have to admit that during my first year, and I'm the very first ambassador of Azerbaijan, as I've mentioned, already during my first year in Kenya, I was confined to Nairobi because of my schedule. I mean, I traveled abroad, but I never traveled to the regions. Last month, I finally went to Mombasa, which is Maridadi.
Oh, great.
It's beautiful. It also has the old city, which you...
Yes, indeed.
And I was walking around. I even put something on my Twitter because it was so impressive. Like Jesus Fort, for example.
Yeah, for
yet
Jesus,
another major landmark.
Brilliant.
Beaches are beautiful. But then I went to Masai Mara, and I have a confession to make. Actually, I was so mesmerized by Masai Mara. I even came up with this pen, game of the word, that Masai Mara is mesmerizing. Mesmerizing.
There you go.
I went there twice in the course of 10 days.
Wow.
I spent 4 of my days there because I couldn't stop. I went there first with my family, and then I basically came back, and I was calling my friends in Baku saying it's beautiful.
You've got to come.
And I convinced them. So they just jumped on a plane.
And they came straight away.
And then we went there again.
You know what's going to happen is that the reverse is going to happen.
It should.
We want to see a situation where, like you say, in cooperation and you know, forging strong relationships of the future, we can have the reverse happening. We can have Kenyans going to Baku. For example, good people of Kenya who are watching, those of you who like to follow Formula One, Baku has been holding, there's a world-class arena, there's a world-class racetrack in Azerbaijan, and Formula One is going there in just a few days, less than a week. There should be some of the great high-octane action that you're used to. Is it going to be the Red Bull team? Is it going to be Mercedes? Is it going to be Ferrari? All of that is going to be happening in Baku. If you want to go, so how do we do that? Initially, there used to be a bit of challenge when it comes to visas. How is the situation now?
Of course, we're always happy to welcome our Kenyan friends. However, in terms of the process, it used to be a bit complicated because for Kenyans traveling to Azerbaijan, they were supposed to visit either Addis first or Ankara to obtain their visas. Not anymore, because a bit more than months ago, we started issuing visas locally here in Nairobi. Our consular department is now operating. And of course, Formula is a big attraction. It really brings together a lot of Formula fans from all over the world. And as you rightly mentioned, it will be starting in exactly 1 week. And one of the most interesting and charming aspects of Formula One in Baku is that it's a city circuit which runs straight by the walls of the old city.
Wow.
So you see these walls, which are like, centuries and centuries old, and right next to them fly those kind of rockets, or rockets basically, and it's really, really impressive. But frankly speaking, what I appreciate about Formula even more, as much as I love racing, it's also the whole aura, the whole ambiance, you know, because there is a lot of fun, there is a lot of entertainment, there is
culture.
Concerts, like a lot of food tasting. We have a seaside boulevard, which it's more than 10 kilometers, has just been recently further expanded, and this whole area is becoming one big platform. It's one big melting pot for people to have fun, to get entertained, and then of course to enjoy the Formula, which we are proudly hosting for a number of years. And I can tell you, I should attest that Kenyans who love Formula,
they go.
You just appealed through the camera.
Yes,
there are many. I mean,
so many.
And
so many.
The good thing is that if you're going for Formula, you don't even need visa, frankly speaking, because your ticket is automatically becoming a confirmation of you obtaining your visa upon arrival.
Right.
So it's even further step towards facilitating the arrangements. But with or without Formula, we're happy to welcome our Kenyan friends who are interested to visit Azerbaijan. And as I've mentioned, we're happy that visa is not an issue. And as for getting there are several options, there are several airlines. Nairobi is very well connected, so is Baku.
Yes.
So we're looking forward for more. What was tourist in Vitali, right? So tourist like Utali. Yeah. So we're looking forward for
watalii.
Yes.
Watalii wengi.
Yeah, watalii wengi.
So Bwana Ambassador, ikiwa watalii wa Kenya, I want to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
Ikiwa watalii wa Kenya wangependa kwenda Baku, kuna mahitaji gani? Yani kama masharti gani? What are the requirements to be able to get the visa? What are some of the things that are being put in place to make the process easier, apart from, of course, bringing things closer to Nairobi?
Yeah, well, of course there is a process which is mandatory for any visa issuance requirements, but it's not complicated. There are several basic documents which you're supposed to submit, including an application form which can be filled right there at the embassy. And so far, to the best of my knowledge, even so, as you know, ambassadors do not deal with issues directly.
Yes.
But to the best of my knowledge, there was not a single case of visa application rejected by our consular department. Of course, we're not talking about thousands of applications.
That's right.
So far, we're probably around 100 or so. But it's very heartening. It's something very inspiring, and we believe it's just the beginning. Speaking of big events, we've mentioned Formula and...
Actually, just before we go back there, we will talk about some of those events in a second, but if we may dwell a little bit of time there. There's a lot of Kenyans that we've talked to that have expressed an interest in even finding economic opportunities in your country, and also Kenyans that see opportunities to have the reverse happen, business people from your country finding opportunities here. Can you talk to us about what can be put in place, or what has been put in place to be able to make these transitions and these collaborations a little better? In fact, I understand there's a Kenyan consulate being set up over there later this year, or was it early next year?
It's something that is in the making. It's pipeline, but it's something for the future. For the time being, such efforts are indeed taking place. I say Kazi Bidi. Basically, we're making this big effort to develop business, to make sure that these opportunities are revealed, identified, and are put at service of people in both countries. To be more specific, there were several delegations from Kenya which visited Azerbaijan and had a number of meetings with various government officials as well as private entities. There were a set of visits from Baku. A number of people came. They were showing extra interest to various fields because, as I mentioned, opportunities are there, from basic export-import operation to some more, long-term dedicated areas like e-governance, for example. My country is famous for oil and gas.
Yes, indeed.
Not just the ones that you mentioned at the very beginning when we were talking about the special bathing procedures, which are really good for your skin, and we are famous with that. But Azerbaijan is actually one of the countries that started oil exploration at the end of the 19th, early 20th
In fact,
century.
if I'm not wrong, the very first oil tanker,
which is true,
was commissioned from Baku.
True, very true. I can tell you more. Everybody knows about Nobel brothers.
Yes, the Alfred Nobel. Yes,
we have a house museum of Nobels in Baku because a Nobel's company has started making its initial fortune in Azerbaijan.
Oh, is that so?
That's why this
look at that history
there, and it's still functioning. Our oil wells are also famous because of the history. And then when the Soviet Union started exploration of oil and gas, let's say the elite, the core team of experts in the area,
came from your country
for a very simple reason, because there was no
you had the expertise, nobody else
knew. Far advanced.
Ladies and gentlemen, this country at some point actually produced half of the oil that was used in the world. And I think the Second World War was won, at least the Russian bit was supplied heavily by, I think about 75% of your oil was able to, huge exports of oil and gas as well.
Well, I have to admit, I'm impressed once again, because you clearly did a bit of background.
It's a wonderful country.
No, I really appreciate it.
It's a wonderful country.
Which is true. Indeed, back then, during the Second World War, most of the petrol used by the Red Army was actually coming from Baku. That's why, for this very reason, Baku was one of the strategic destinations for the advancing army. Hitler was actually prioritizing occupation of Baku. However, those plans never came to fruition for obvious reasons. We all know the rest, but this is a thing of the history.
It's all in the past.
Forward, as I said, we're looking for partnerships and cooperations with everyone. Of course, our oil and gas reserves are still quite impressive. They cannot be compared to some of the kind of biggest oil producers, but still, it's a backbone of our economy. Yet at the same time, we're making major effort, dedicated effort to diversify.
That's right.
Investing a lot in the green energy, and there is an additional reason for that, and this reason being is one of those events that will be taking in Azerbaijan, and yes, I'll pass it to you. COP it is, indeed. I was mentioning Formula, but a bigger event, and with all due respect to Formula and Formula fans, it's a much more important one. Of
for
a
our planet.
Nature, of course, will be taking place in Azerbaijan in November. That's COP29, the Conference of Parties. This is a huge responsibility. It's a huge honor for us to be hosting this event. My government is currently working with a wide range of partners to make sure that it's transparent, that it's impartial, that it's inclusive. We have set a number of important priorities. We want to make sure that we are enhancing ambitions and at the same time we are enabling actions. And we're working with all the regions very actively. And let me also mention that Kenya is playing a very important role on climate change action agenda. In Africa, you hosted very successful climate summit, African Climate Summit last year. His Excellency President Ruto is heading Special Commission of the African Union, heads of states and governments on climate change, and your negotiator on climate issues, Mr. Ali Mohammed, is also chairing the African Negotiators Group. So we believe Kenya has a very important role to play, including at the forthcoming COP29.
All right. Now, because I mean, as an ambassador, you are an ambassador of many things. There's the politics side, there's a business, there's a culture, and every other thing. I want you to share something with us. I want you to share with us 5 things that you've found in Kenya that have absolutely blown your mind. And I want you to talk to a Kenyan out there who's listening and wondering, this country that I'm hearing all these wonderful things about, give them 5 things that are guaranteed to blow their minds if they decide to visit Baku.
Okay, so I'm talking about the things that they will be impressed with if they go to Baku.
If they go, and then you tell them what you are impressed with. Don't say Masai Mara, because you've already told us that.
No, we're done with Masai Mara. Let me actually, with your permission, start in reverse. Let me start with things that impressed me, and they were really mind-boggling in terms of my discoveries here in Kenya. And I'm really sincere in saying that the very first, the biggest one, probably the platform for all the rest, are Kenyans themselves. I mean, you know, I've been around. I used to work for United Nations before.
Yes.
So it's easy for me to count number of countries that I have not visited, those that I've been to.
Visited.
And I can tell you that Kenyans are really, to me, they are among the best in terms of being very sincere, being very cordial. I don't want to generalize. There are difficult people in any nation, in any place.
That's right.
But I would say the genuine smiles that you enjoy when you talk to someone, it doesn't matter. Can be very high-level government official, can be just a guy who is helping you with parking.
Yes.
And it comes from his heart. And they don't expect anything in return. If you want to be nice to people, they're happy. If not, they're still happy. And I think this is really important. It's something to be cherished and to be preserved and to be passed from generation to generation. The country is very diverse. At the same time, it's very tolerant. It's yet another issue that I would like to emphasize, because my country, even though it's predominantly Muslim country, it's also very secular, and we take pride in being tolerant and respecting representatives of all the religions. Your wildlife, without singling out Masai Mara, and your nature in general, is yet another thing. Let me also mention the country's potential, because potential is definitely there. Some of it is harnessed, some of it is yet to be harnessed. And as a very last thing, because this one will be playing on both sides for both teams, I have to say that Chakula Hika Kitamu Sana. So it's something which is adding to my perennial struggle of keeping myself properly fit. In a way, sometimes I'm failing, sometimes I'm not. But your food is very nice, seriously. Wonderful. And it's also very diverse. Wonderful. And particularly your seafood, I would say Chakula Baharia.
Yes, Chakula Baharia.
Now, if we move to my country, I've mentioned food already. Our food is also quite delicious,
yes, indeed.
Quite inviting. I'll stop here because I know as much as you want to talk about food, people will only believe you when they will taste
when they see it.
And I'll leave it to them.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
That's it. Very true. And
right.
Well, I could come up with a long list of Azerbaijani dishes that can replace the word pudding in this particular saying.
All
but
right.
Again, I will leave it to the hands-on or mouth-in experience that
right.
Hopefully many Kenyans will
experience.
Yeah. Of course, culture. You mentioned Old City. There are a lot of places I don't even know where to start. From the Temple of Fire Worshippers to the Carpet Museum, from on-rock paintings of Gobustan, which go back really thousands and thousands of years. It's one of the very interesting archaeological attractions. Music, art, there is really a lot, and it will keep you busy for quite some time. Even so, Azerbaijan is not as big as Kenya in terms of the territory, but it's also very diverse. So if someone goes to Baku, there is a distinction to be made. You either went to Baku or you went to Azerbaijan, because visiting Baku is not equaling visiting Azerbaijan. There are so many beautiful places. Like, for example, one of the jewels of our crown is the town of Shusha, which recently hosted International Media Forum.
Yes.
I mean, we have forests, we have mountains, there are mentioned, there are lakes, there are springs. So it's something to really discover in person. Then I was already mentioning us hosting quite a number of international events, sporting events. First European Olympics took place in our country. It's also a land of business opportunities, just like Kenya is when it comes to biashara.
Yes.
I don't know if I've passed the threshold of 5. I think I'm standing at 4, but I'll leave it here because leave it there because I can come up with another 10.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, you did very well. Yeah. Now, Mr. Ambassador, clearly your country, small as it is much bigger than the time that we have to discuss it. And the conversation around cooperation and relationship, again, is much longer than the time that we have. But just before I let you go for this time, until next time, I want you to look into this camera right behind me. And I want you, from your heart, a message to the people. Any message you have from your heart. There you go.
Well, I mean, what can I say? I'll partially repeat what I've said already. You have beautiful country. Cherish it. Make sure it's continuing development, and your friends will be happy to celebrate with you. And if any of the partnerships and cooperations that we hope, that we aspire to build with Kenya can contribute even a bit to that prosperity, to that development, to those achievements, we'll be very happy.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. And hopefully some of you will be traveling to Azerbaijan to enjoy all the diverse beauties and experiences that are filling that country right now. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
You'll come again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Say Tuanana Badai.
Tuanana Badai. How do you say it in your language?
It will be a bit complicated. I'll give you a simpler version. You just say Sahol.
Sahol.
Sahol means goodbye.
Sahol.
If you say I'll see you again, it's Yeni görüşene dek, but it will be a bit complicated. So.
All right, good people of Kenya, Sahol, Yeni görüşene dek, something like that. Tutonana badai. God bless you and thank you so much, sir.
Asante sana.
All right.
Thank you.